Good afternoon. My name is Elliot Wong Toy, and I'm a PhD student in the statistics department, and I'm a member of the What Matters to Me and Why organizing committee. On behalf of the organizing committee and the advisory council on campus climate, culture, and inclusion, it's our great pleasure to welcome you to the very first What Matters to Me and Why of 2023. What Matters to Me and Why is a chance to stop and take a break from our usual frenetic tasks, keeping the campus running, and really just being part of this UCI community. What we do is we ask speakers to come in and give a short informal talk, followed by ample time for question and answer with those of you here in person, as well as those of you who are joining over Zoom. So there's no prescribed topic. This is not a research talk. Speakers are just asked to answer the question, what matters to you and why? And to mix in their values, beliefs, motivations, and also share how their personal experiences have come into play through both the highs and the lows. Our hope is that this will help to strengthen bonds between faculty, staff, and students, and to celebrate both the diversity of our community as well as the things that we share. So a quick few housekeeping items is all of our talks, including this one, are recorded. So for those of us in the room, that means that there's a chance that we're going to show up in this recording, especially if we're in the front half. The bright side also means that we can find all these recordings, the old ones and this one, are posted online to the What Matters to Me and Why website. Also, following this talk, we'll be asked to fill out a survey just about this event in general. Please take some time to do that. The organizing committee takes that seriously and incorporates it into future talks. Also, as we're leaving this room, be sure to leave it just as clean as it was before we came in. And also on February 1st, we'll be having our next What Matters to Me and Why seminar speaker, Franklin Dollar, who's the Associate Dean and Professor of Physics and Astronomy. So because this series gathers people from different areas of campus, we always like to begin with time to meet those around us who we may not know already. So for those of us in the room and for those of us online, why don't we take a chance to talk to our neighbors, either in person or in breakout rooms. And then after a minute or two of that, Rachel Correll will introduce our speaker for today, Connie Cheng. Thank you.
My name is Rachel Correll. Today is my last day as a staff member here at UCI. I'm in the Dean's Office of the School of Medicine, and I'm also a member of the What Matters to Me and Why committee since 2015. It is my great pleasure to welcome Connie Cheng today as today's featured speaker. Connie is a phenomenal staff member at UCI. She's a two-time UCI graduate with a bachelor's degree in psychology and a master's in teaching. Additionally, she holds a Master of Science in Counseling and Student Development in Higher Education from Cal State Long Beach. Connie is currently the Program Director for the Masterware of Software Engineering in the Donald Bren School of Information and Computer Sciences. She has worked with graduate students and programs at UCI for over a decade. You know how people say they give their blood, sweat, and tears? Connie is the literal example of this. Last time I saw her in person, she was giving blood at the Blood Donor Center right here on the Irvine campus. I first met Connie in her volunteer roles with Staff Assembly, where she has served since 2017 and as chair in academic year 21. I've witnessed Connie give so much to the staff of UCI, helping us all with our home away from home, our workplaces where we spend so much time. She is a true anteater, focused on employee well-being and professional development. Without further ado, please join me in welcoming Connie Cheng to the podium to explain what matters to her and why.
Thank you so much. Thank you all so much for being here. Being here today means so much to me, and it's not just because I'm absolutely honored to have been selected to speak to all of you today, but because being up here ties directly into what matters to me and why. If someone had told me 30 years ago, 15, even 5 years ago that I'd be standing here today, speaking to all of you for almost an entire hour, I would have said, no, absolutely not. And if I had received the invitation to speak 3 years ago, I would have accepted. But rather than feel it as an opportunity and enjoy the process of preparing today and enjoying this moment right now, I would have dreaded it every single moment from the time I accepted the invitation to the moment I step off the stage in about 45 minutes. And I received this invitation to speak in April of last year. That's a lot of dread. And that's because I used to let fear dictate my life. And in this particular instance, the fear of public speaking. So what matters the most to me is having experiences. And for me, that often means facing my fears head on. Because in my experience, fear has been the number one barrier that has prevented me from living my most meaningful and fulfilling life. I have 2 additional guiding principles that help me determine what experiences I want to have and how I live my life. And they sound pretty simple. The first one, I simply ask myself, am I happy and am I having fun? And the second one is, I always, no matter what I'm doing, whomever I'm with, I try to lead with kindness. So today I'm going to share several stories from my life that explain just why these values are so important to me. So growing up, I was a fairly disciplined child, very self-regulating. To this day, my mom likes to share the story of how I would come home from school and I'd usually watch some television. A lot of Full House, Saved by the Bell, maybe some Family Matters. And as soon as the episode ended, I would just go up to my room and do my homework. My parents never had to ask me to do my homework or clean my room. I just did it on my own, and I was really, really good at it. My friends did not like this because as soon as their parents found out that I was so disciplined, they would get the, "Why can't you be more like Connie?" talk. However, when they were grounded or otherwise were in trouble, they were always allowed to hang out with me. Because their parents knew if their child was with Connie, they wouldn't be getting into trouble. So I was called a lot of names growing up. Among them, goody two-shoes, teacher's pet. This is great for my parents. However, now as an adult, and I look back at my childhood through my 20s, maybe even my early 30s, I see this as having manifested into a lot of missed opportunities. As a young person, I was really, really good at delaying gratification. I was always waiting for this perfect moment in the future, the nebulous future, sometime in the future that would be a better time to do X, Y, and Z. And these could be small things, such as if I want to go to a movie, try a new restaurant, go to an event, and my friends weren't available or they just weren't interested, then I just wouldn't go. Because that was better than going by myself, because I was afraid of being by myself. Or what people would think if they saw me alone by myself enjoying a movie or enjoying dining by myself. And I always justified it as, it's okay, I could go next week, next month, in the next however many years. And these sometimes were bigger things, such as not studying abroad when I was an undergraduate student here. Because that would be scary. Going to a foreign country where I don't know the language for 3, 6, 9, maybe 12 months. And again, I justified it. I thought, well, wouldn't it be better if I just wait until after I graduated and I had a job and I had more money, maybe a significant other, then we can travel there together. And if I'm not a student, then I don't have to study. I could just go and have fun. So that's essentially how I operated for maybe the first 30 years of my life. More recently, I've spent a lot of time thinking about mortality. That's not as depressing as it may sound. For me, when I think about how limited my time is on Earth and how precious time is, it actually fills me with a sense of hope and optimism, and is a large motivating factor in driving me to make decisions and take action. So in June of 2019, one of my closest childhood friends passed away unexpectedly. She was the older sister that I've never had. I'm an only child. So I looked to her and followed her lead like a younger sibling would to an older sibling. When she didn't like dresses, I wouldn't wear dresses. Her favorite color was blue, so my favorite color was blue. I took piano lessons and dance classes because she did. Our parents carpooled us everywhere to all our activities, to school. She introduced me to coffee, and to this day, whenever I drink a Starbucks caramel macchiato, I always think about her. Suffice it to say, she was a very large part of my upbringing in my childhood. Now, when she passed away, I was in denial for a very long time. I didn't cry for almost 4 months because I just didn't believe it. It wasn't until 4 months later, it was my birthday. So my friend was 15 months older than me, so we had never been the same age. My friend passed away at the age of 32, 1 month before her 33rd birthday. 4 months later, I turned 32. And that's when I realized for the first time we were the same age, and that eventually I would become older than her. And as soon as I realized this, things changed. I started feeling like my life was speeding out of control. And I started thinking about all those opportunities that I hadn't taken because I was waiting for this perfect time in the nebulous future. And I felt like I was on this runaway train and my life was speeding up uncontrollably. This is late 2019. Fast forward 6 more months, it's March 2020. And all of our lives essentially came to a collective halt overnight. And I very much needed and welcome this time of quarantine and pandemic pause and slow down because I felt like my life was speeding out of control. Now, the key term during this time of early COVID was essential. And it really got me to thinking, I have everything essential in my life. I had my health. I was safe. I had shelter. I had social support. My family was part of my quarantine bubble. And although I didn't see my friends in person, I was seeing them a lot more frequently via FaceTime and Zoom. So I actually felt my relationships were blossoming during this time. When the campus shut down, I was lucky to keep my job and continue working from home. And that first day, I came to campus, went to my office, grabbed my laptop, went home, and started working, and continued working for 1.5 years. And I felt extremely grateful every single day, and I continue to feel grateful every single day. Now, it's impossible to talk about COVID without acknowledging all of the loss that occurred. People lost jobs. People lost experiences. People lost routines, vacations, graduations, and there was so much loss of life. So my friend's death, coupled with the entire experience surrounding COVID, really drove home the fact for me that life is short and time is precious, and that every day I wake up, I'm lucky because not everyone gets to wake up. So I mentioned that there's 2 guiding principles that help me determine what experiences I have. And the first one was, am I happy and am I having fun? Which on the outset, I know sounds a little bit juvenile, maybe. But because I spent such a portion of my life extremely unhappy, I vowed to myself that I would never find myself in that situation again if I had control. And I do. I have control over my life. So going back in time now further to now June 2010, I was a graduate student here at UCI. I was getting my Master's of Arts in Teaching, what I'm going to call the MAT program, in what was the Department of Education at the time. And I realize now that that was a watershed moment in my life. When I talk about my life, I talk about my life pre-MAT, post-MAT. MAT. And the 15 months that I was in this program, I call it 15 months of hell. Now, I have to take a moment here and emphasize that what I'm about to share with you has zero bearing on the academic quality and the education I received from this program. I have to state that for the record. And everything I'm about to share with you just was what I was experiencing as a young adult at that time who just happened to be a graduate student here. So the program started in June of 2010. And shortly after the program started, my maternal grandfather passed away. And I took a few days off and I flew to Taiwan for the funeral. And when I came back, my life quickly went into a downward spiral. During this time, the worst part of every single day was waking up. Think about that for a moment. Imagine the hopelessness and the misery of your life when the worst part of every day is just gaining consciousness. And that's where I was during this time period. And I went about my daily life. I went to class. I did my student teaching. I was also working at Starbucks at the time. But everything just kind of had this heaviness to it. And I felt like I was just walking in a fog, not fully enjoying life, just going through the motions of what I thought I was supposed to do. And I started self-medicating with a lot of alcohol. I would come home, do my lesson planning, do my homework, and polish off an entire bottle of wine. And I would do this day after day after day. And I had a very active social life at this time too. And guess what I did? So I eventually sought professional help and I was prescribed medication that I continued to mix with alcohol. So things did not get better. Now I'm going to pause here for a moment and say that this period of time is really difficult for me to talk about. And it's not hard for the reasons that you may think. It's difficult for me to talk about because my recollection of this time period is extremely fuzzy. With the alcohol, the medication, my mental state at the time, it's really hard for me to remember the sequence of events and exactly what happened. All I know is that I was extremely depressed. I had extreme anxiety. I felt hopeless. And again, the worst part of every day was just being awake. So I'm going to fast forward. I'm not glossing over details. I just don't know the exact details. So I'm fast forwarding towards the end of the program. It's now a year later. And my friend and I, we are out. And we decide to have a beer flight. You get 4 or 5 samples of beer. We drink it. We have a good time. We go home. That evening, I get extremely sick. And then the next morning, I still feel very ill. And I'm sitting in bed, and I'm reflecting on the past year. And I state to myself, I think this is my rock bottom. There's no way things can get worse than this. It can't. I cannot endure more. This is it. This is rock bottom. And then as soon as I said that to myself, I felt a weight lifted. And I felt a sense of hope. Because once you realize you've hit rock bottom, there's nowhere to go but up. So every time I tell this story, I always say that if I had the opportunity to relive any part of my life, change it, revise it, delete, edit, I would keep this 15 months of hell exactly the way it happened. I would live it all over again. And I wouldn't wish this upon my enemies. But I truly believe that the only reason that I'm as happy and as optimistic as I am today is because I know how bad it can get. So I am going to share so the second principle was kindness. I always try to lead with kindness. So during this program, first of all, I'm I'm just sensitive to begin with. But when you think the entire world is against you, it kind of feels like everyone is extra mean or extra rude to you. So that very much affected me. And at the end of the program, I had a very core group of friends. We had just taken 15 months of classes together, done group projects together, and we all had personal lives that we shared our struggles with throughout the program. So I was surprised when they were surprised at just how bad my personal life had been during this time. And that made me realize that no matter what, you never truly know what anyone is going through internally. You just don't know. And so whenever I meet anyone, I don't know what they're going through. They could be having the worst day of their life, and I do not want to be that person that makes it even worse. So because of that, I always try to lead with kindness. So I'm going to end with 2 anecdotes about my friend. My parents and I went to her wedding. And my friend and I were friends because our parents were friends. And after the wedding, we get a thank you note from her. And she addresses it to my parents. Thank you for coming to my wedding. Thank you for the gift. And at the bottom of the note, she addresses it directly to me. Dear Connie, let's hang out sometime. And I thought about this note when we back up. My friend and I were friends because our parents were friends. And she was a year older than me, so we had separate groups of friends and we were always in different classes. So once we got older and we could drive, we just naturally kind of drifted apart. But she was very much an important part of my life. So when I got that note, I thought about it a lot. And whenever I thought about reaching out to her, something would stop me. I think that, I have this thing coming up next week. I'm extremely busy. It's not a good time to reach out to her. I'll reach out to her next month. And then the next month will roll around. And then I would think, well, she's probably busy. And if she wants to hang out with me, she can reach out to me. I never reached out to her. And now I can't. So I'm going to end on a lighter note. My friend and I, we used to collect stickers. I had a box with sheets and sheets and sheets of stickers, thousands of stickers, and she had her box. And every time we hung out, which is almost every week, we would bring our boxes and we would trade boxes and we would go through each other's stickers and take out the ones that we wanted. And my friend and I had a very sophisticated sticker bartering system. There was the normal stickers, which would be an easy 1-for-1 trade. And then there were the more highly coveted stickers, which for us, Jillian's nodding, she knows, were the scratch and sniff scented stickers, the sparkly, glittery Lisa Frank stickers, the textured, fuzzy stickers, and any extra large in size, just extra unique stickers. Those were worth a lot more. So week after week, we'd trade. And she always wanted my highly coveted stickers that I had a really hard time of letting go. And week after week, she would up the ante. She's like, okay, I'll give you my glow-in-the-dark stickers, and my Hello Kitty stickers, and my fuzzy stickers, and these dancing dog stickers for that. And sometimes I would give in, and most times it was really difficult for me to let go of the stickers. So fast forward, we get older. We stop trading stickers. And over time, I start purging my sticker collection. And eventually, my entire sticker collection has been thrown away in the trash. And I think about this a lot. Because I think, what was I waiting for? Why didn't I use them? Why didn't I stick the stickers everywhere? On my water bottle, on my computer, on my desk, on my bed, on my walls. Because my parents wouldn't have liked that, that's why. And I was disciplined. And why didn't I trade it with my friend who would have had more joy from that than me keeping it in my box for all these years and eventually the trash? And I think that's been a metaphor for my life, just always delaying gratification. And now I have a new rule, which I have borrowed from Nike, and it's just do it. Just use the sticker. Just spend the gift card. Just burn the candle. Just take the day off. Just book that vacation. And when I think about someone, I just reach out to them because I never know when it'll be too late. So, as a symbolic reminder for all of you today, I brought stickers. So these are all pretty positive stickers. Enjoy today, you're amazing. There's a peace sign, stay strong, stay positive. Enjoy the little things. There's a happy birthday if anyone's celebrating. I'm gonna pass these out. And I just have, take one, take a few, take none if you don't want any. And I just have one ask, which I'm sure you all know what it is. If you take one, you use it by the end of today. Whether that's sticking it on your phone, your laptop, your water bottle, your shirt, your forehead, giving it to someone, you use it by the end of today and don't hang on to it. And I'm gonna reference my notes really fast. I wanted to go back really quickly to the having fun and being happy. When I was preparing for this talk, I had a moment where I thought that I couldn't say that because it sounded really selfish. And then I stopped myself and said, no, it's not selfish at all. Because when I take control of my life and I'm living my best life, that means I can show up for everyone else. Whether that's my graduate students, my colleagues, my partner, my family, my friends, and even complete strangers. So that's why those are such important values to me. And lastly, I just want to say thank you for all of you being here on your lunch break as I share my story and I face my old nemesis, fear. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Connie, for sharing your story with us, for your compassion, your empathy, your openness to tell your personal story and what matters to you and why. And also for all of your hard work at this university, which you didn't even go into today, but I know you do so much for this campus between work and volunteer roles. Thank you for everything. With that, we will open it up for questions. Let's see. To speak, please raise your hand and wait for the microphone to get to you so that we can get your audio on the video. You may also ask your question via the chat button or by raising your virtual hand on Zoom. Elliot has a microphone on that side of the room, and I'll have one over here.
They're too busy with the stickers.
Okay. Hi, Jillian Hayes. Thank you for that beautiful talk, Connie. I really appreciate it. I'm struck that you were going through graduate school at a time that was a really vulnerable time for you. And many of our graduate students are going through graduate school at a time that's really vulnerable for them. What advice would you have for them if they're going through something like you were, or for all of us who are trying to support them at what we could do better?
Find an outlet. Fortunately for me, my parents were there every step of the way. And I came home one day, I used to come home just and start crying. And sometimes when I left the student teaching the classroom, I would start crying before I even got to my car. I just experienced so many crying spells. And I would drive home crying. And I'd get home, and this one day, my mom and my dad are hugging me. And my dad obviously doesn't want to see me hurt. And he just finally gets very angry. He's like, just quit. Just quit the program. And I knew it wasn't the program. I think it was just everything else as a young adult navigating life and trying to, what I thought was having to please people. And I actually felt that me having to go to graduate school and go through these routines actually helped me keep it more together, which I wasn't at all. So that was extremely helpful, just knowing that they were there to support me however that meant, even if that meant quitting graduate school. I also lost myself in books a lot because you can transport yourself to another world, and exercise. That is a really good medicine, and I think that's really when I started enjoying exercise. And physical fitness is very helpful. But whatever it is for you, meditation, yoga, they now have those rooms where you can like just break stuff. That sounds amazing. Actually, that's what I want to try. So do something, find something that even if temporarily, it can get you out of your head and what you're experiencing.
Yeah. Since you have been at UCI for so long, where is your favorite spot on campus and why?
So long. Oh gosh. My favorite spot on campus. I'm like going through the campus in my mind right now. I really like where the statues are and it goes underneath towards the student center. And there's that bridge. I just really like bridges. And I think underneath it, it's always like cold under there, even on a really hot day, right? And then I used to work in humanities here. And so that's also kind of like a shortcut there, but it's like off the beaten path of Ring Road. So great question. Thank you. Got me thinking.
There's one from the chat from Melissa. In terms of conquering fear, what is the next challenge you've set for yourself, even if it is a tiny thing?
This one's really hard for me. I think it's a cultural thing, but I would really like to learn more about my parents. And obviously they're getting older, I'm getting older, but I think there's a lot that I haven't spoken to them about just because there's that cultural divide and language barrier. But I know, I just shared with you that life is short and you never know when it's your last day. So I think that's my next challenge that I need to take action on. Thanks, Melissa.
All right. Thank you, Connie, for your talk. And with that, we're going to conclude. And just a couple reminders as we're exiting the room. The lunches that you all signed up for are available in the back. So please pick those up on your way out. And also, if you didn't RSVP or didn't sign up, please hold off on grabbing one before you take one, just to make sure that everyone gets one. And then also just reiterating what was mentioned before, the next meeting will be on February 1st. And I think it'll be here, but possibly on a Wednesday. Need to double check that one. So yeah, thank you for coming today, and hopefully see you all at the next What Matters to Me and Why.